Welcome back, everybody. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Tom Vandervoort. We're from NASCAR Illustrated. As you can see by the picture over our shoulder, it's time to talk Talladega.
Yeah, some people don't like this race because it's kind of a crapshoot, but it sure is a fun crapshoot.
It also can be a little hairy for the guys behind the wheel.
Yeah, you have to have some sympathy, right? I think for the drivers.
You do.
I've talked to a bunch of guys, and one of our very good friends, Rick Mast, and he's flipped over here a number of times, and he said, look, when you go to Talladega, you say to yourself, Lord, just let me get back on my plane at the end of this day. And there is that sense about it, and I don't want to minimize that. However, this is a hell of a lot of fun from a race fan's perspective because it's tactical. Anybody can win. The field is generally going to stay in a nice big pack, back to the front, front to the back. Lead changes all over the place. And there's a lot going on at Talladega to like from an entertainment standpoint, and I think it's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, now when you talk about keys to the race, it's hard to say that any key is more important than just surviving to the end. I mean, that's really your goal, is to be in the top 20, top 15 with 5 laps to go and position yourself. Hopefully you'll find a dancing partner and position yourself so that you can make a run. But I mean, so what is your strategy in order to get to the end of the race?
Well, a lot of guys have different strategies. Some people feel like the best place to be is out front. And you kind of want to know what your car can do. You want to know what other cars your car works well with. And so you don't get too afraid to mix it up during the body of the event. Some guys are like, you know what, there is just, because passing is so easy here, track position doesn't matter, I'll take 80% of this race and I'll essentially shorten the race. I just won't race. Yeah. I'll just stay on the lead lap and I'm just not really going to do anything. I think to me the best strategy I like best is to see what your car can do, but not really take any risks. If there's any chance of a risk at all, you just don't do it. You know, if a guy's pushing you or crowding you or something, you just let him go. Don't worry about it until the end.
Now, what Dale Earnhardt Jr. has said, and he has had some success here at this racetrack.
5 times, 5 wins.
But what he has said about riding around in the back is he said that if I do that,
you end up driving into it.
Then you either end up driving into it, or when it's time to go, I don't have that in my muscle memory. I haven't worked those muscles. I haven't seen what my car can do. I haven't seen who I run well with. don't have that edge, that competitive edge that I do when I am up front vying for the lead.
Well, there are patterns, right? There are patterns in all these races that develop during the course of the race. Who seems to be fast with who else? Upper line, lower line, just little things that we probably watching on TV can't even describe to you. But I think for the drivers out there, when they are mixing it up a little bit, they get a feel for what's going to work at the end of the day. And I think that's what Dale Jr. is talking about. And that's why I personally like the strategy of racing when you can, but just racing essentially risk-free to the extent it's possible at Talladega until you get to the last 5 laps.
All right, well, let's stop talking about the track. Let's start talking about drivers, but we're going to welcome our very special guest in right after this. All right, everybody, as promised, we are back to talk drivers, and we are joined by Miss Sprint Cup, Brooke Werner. So we're back at the top of the rotation because you were our first guest about 3 weeks ago.
I know. Can you believe it's been, is that 2 or 3 weeks now?
It's been 3 weeks because there's 3 Miss Sprint Cups.
That's true.
See how that works?
Yes, there we go.
I think it's actually been 4 weeks if you're doing the math correctly.
You know what?
Let's get away from this math
Let's not do math. Let's review the standings, though. I happen to have them in this month's issue of NASCAR Illustrated. And look, when I open the page to where I have them, look who I find.
Oh my gosh, it's Brooke.
And I learned that she doesn't like to make her bed.
I don't, except I made it this morning.
Really? Good for you.
It's because I had someone check out a pest I have in my apartment, and I was like, oh man, I can't let him think I'm a non-bed maker.
Do you have vermin issues in your apartment?
I do. There's a bird living behind.
I had a bird in my house yesterday.
Yeah, they make a lot of noise.
And I had to scare it out of there.
It's so sad.
Shall we talk
racing? Know what they're doing.
Shall we talk NASCAR racing?
I guess so. Yeah, that's what we're here for, right?
Over your birds. Okay, so Brooke, we're going to Talladega. It's a hard race to handicap because there's a lot of randomness at Talladega, but you've been doing your due diligence. Who do you like at this racetrack?
It's been tough because we know that Talladega is kind of like the great equalizer. It's really hard to predict who's going to come out on top for this race, but that said, I'm going to go with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as my pick.
Okay.
Because, he's done really well here before. He had that 4-win streak back in the early 2000s. And then earlier this season in Daytona, he came in second behind Jimmy Johnson. So restrictor plate races seem to do well for him. Yeah. So that's my pick.
You can't go wrong with Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Talladega.
It's his milieu.
His what?
Milieu.
Yeah.
Wah wah.
What? My what?
Oh, okay.
CC.
You want-
Frenchie.
I get to go second now because
Yeah.
I brought
Sure.
up the
Oh,
rear
well,
last
we never
week.
went over the rankings.
I picked Casey Kane and it didn't work.
Yeah,
out.
you came in second last week with Casey Kane. I came in first with Clint Boyer, and Jacqueline
Jacqueline, yes.
came
was
in
here.
third with Kyle Busch, but you can't
Busch.
fault her for Kyle Busch at Richmond.
It was a solid pick. When I
was a
heard her
solid pick.
pick that, I was like, yeah, she's got it in the
We
bag.
gave her that one.
So
And she
Tom
took
is
it.
still at the top of the rankings
Oh,
with
good.
12 points. I'm in second now with 11. I passed Miss Sprint Cup by, but you're hanging in with 10 points.
Shucks.
All right, so Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I'm so tempted to pick Danica Patrick. Just cause. Just cause. This is a race where she could finish right up there, right?
Well, but see,
She could.
but you know what? If she doesn't win, she's going to win the fan vote for the Sprint
So
All-Star race.
she doesn't need that.
very true.
Yeah, she
Yes.
doesn't need that. Matt Kenseth. I like Tony Stewart in this
Really?
race. I like Tony Stewart.
He's having an
Okay.
off year.
He's having
man.
an off year, but I still think Talladega is his milieu, and I think that he's going to do well on Sunday.
Well, you almost had Matt Kenseth, who's a great
Yeah.
pick at these plate races. He's just had the plate races down of late, but I'm not going with Matt Kenseth.
Oh, good.
I'm going to go with your reigning NASCAR Sprint Cup champion,
It has been raining a lot.
Brad Keselowski. He's got 2 wins at this track. More impressive than that, in my mind, though, is 6 top 10s and 8 starts, which shows a certain consistency. Maybe he
Shows a
has
certain consistency of luck.
he has a feel. Maybe
Oh,
he
I
has
don't know
a
about
feel.
that. I think that I think
does
he's
have
like
a feel.
really good.
No, look, he does
guy
have
for
a
this
feel.
pick.
I
yeah.
agree. He has a feel. I'm just saying, when you get a streak like that, you are doing something right with
Exactly.
respect to your fortunes at Talladega.
All right, well, I'm taking him anyway.
Good.
So I got Brad Keselowski, you've got Tony Stewart, and Brooks got Dale Earnhardt Jr. So tune back in next week.
And if Junior wins, you know who to thank,
Winner
right?
right here. Just
Yeah,
saying.
It's Miss
Just
Sprint Cup
saying.
karma.
Yeah,
Which karma is a great word for NASCAR, I find.
NASCAR.
it is.
It's-
It,
You know?
it does come
When you
around.
think about
I'm
it.
surprised nobody's got that Twitter handle yet, NASCARma.
Oh, wow. Good. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody.